to apply the Heyerdahl effect to Indians in film. And this shot will become relevant here in just a moment. The Indians before Kevin Costner will almost exclusively shown as the stoic plains warrior fresh from a buffalo kill or a scalping party. In other words, the savage, kind of mentioned briefly in some of the two previous presentations. Indians were rarely, if ever, portrayed as humans, but rather as subhuman creatures whose only redeeming values might be to serve the white man. And if serving the white man, then these Indians were the noble savages playing along with Elise's princess squaw figure from just a few moments ago. But no matter which of these stereotypes were forwarded, Indians were always portrayed as savage. Most often, the Indians before Costner movies were not even Indians at all. Richard mentioned that. But white men wearing thick makeup and dressed as the white man's perfect Indian, the stereotypical plains warrior. Sometimes films even used actors claiming to be Indian, but those claims were also false. And here's perhaps one of the most famous or infamous, depending upon how you look at it, faux Indians of the 70s. But Kevin Costner changed things with his movie Dances with Wolves. And these are some slides that I show in the classroom to accompany this as a lecture for my class. He changed things with his movie Dances with Wolves. This movie is still very much a white man's story, though, but at least it portrays Indians as human. Costner, although he perpetuated many stereotypes, broke from mainstream thought when he showed American Indians as being human beings with real feelings and emotions. He showed a sense of humor in the Indians, thus destroying the popular mindset of Indians as non-human or subhuman creatures incapable of such emotions. He primarily used American Indian actors to play the American Indian role, which was, up until that point, a rarity, thus altering another paradigm of mainstream America, one that Indians can't. In essence, it took a white man, Kevin Costner, to prove what American Indians had been saying for ages. We are human. Dances with Wolves opened eyes, but more importantly, it opened minds. Personally, I believe that Dances with Wolves made it okay, perhaps even cool, to be an Indian. I can recall how the mainstream paradigm shifted almost at the very instant that Dances hit the theaters, registered a 9.4 on the popular culture Richter scale, and suddenly everybody wanted to be an Indian. Or at the very least, they had some Indian ancestry, usually a Cherokee grandmother, who was a princess of some sort. But nevertheless, America and the world started thinking, and thinking differently, about Indians. And it took a white man to do that. This is what I call the Dances with Wolves effect. Now, I'm not saying that Costner is my hero and I love this movie. Actually, I have a love-hate relationship with the movie. I love that American Indians were finally recognized as human. I hate that it took so long for it to happen, and it happened under these circumstances, but it did happen. I believe that the Dances with Wolves effect still plays a very strong role in the portrayal of American Indians to this day. Simply look at all of the blockbuster films that have come out since Dances with Wolves and how they have portrayed Indians. Some might argue that this is simply the awareness of a more politically correct citizenry and not necessarily the direct result of one movie. And I will counter that claim and state that political correctness toward American Indians might never have reached this level of awareness had it not been for Dances with Wolves breaking traditions. Here, some might argue that other movies, once previous to Dances with Wolves, portrayed Indians as human and in a good light. And that is certainly a true statement. I'm not going to deny that. However, these movies failed where Dances with Wolves succeeded at the box office. That's what made the difference. The one thing that American cinema will listen to spoke loudly and clearly: dollar signs. When Dances with Wolves aired, Hollywood, and by extension the American general public, saw that there was money to be made in portraying Indians as people. Had Dances with Wolves been a box office flop, Indians would have progressed cinematically no further than moving targets for John Wayne, and in the mainstream, perhaps not at all. Now, I return here to something that I mentioned just briefly a few moments ago. This is a slide that I showed. Let me take a brief time out here for this commercial message. This is a scene of some of the Civil War battlefield. The Civil War battlefield is documented, and if you recall Dances with Wolves, he opens up with a battle at St. David's Field in Tennessee. Well, the place does not exist, not that I can find. So I'm giving him creative Hollywood license for that one. And I show there the travels of the Dunbar character from Tennessee through the plains to the last vestige of the frontier as his physical travels, but his spiritual journey starts well before that even begins. Let me go back here to my narrative. I claimed that Dances with Wolves opened and suddenly it was okay, perhaps even cool to be an Indian. And I can recall conversations that I had before and immediately around the era of Dances with Wolves with people who would come up to me and ask me all sorts of questions. Questions about Indians, like, what does it mean? What does it mean to be an Indian? How does it feel to be an Indian? What do Indians eat? What kind of cars do Indians drive? Where do you live? Do you ride a horse? Things like that. Many mainstreamers were suddenly discovering a secret Indianness about themselves, little realizing that all of the Indian influences that suddenly surrounded them have been there for forever, and that Dances with Wolves just made them aware of it by making money. This phenomenon is similar to what happened with Thor Heyerdahl when he suddenly became a celebrity expert on North American indigenous peoples' migratory routes. Kevin Costner became a celebrity expert on Indians, going on to produce a documentary series called 500 Nations. This documentary revealed no new information. It simply retold what American Indians had been saying for ages and ages. But this time a white man who made money was doing the telling.